Handyman 101, episode 2. Wanted to thank everybody for contributing to last week's video in the comments. I read every single one of them. I try to reply to them if it's relevant. Also, everybody who sent me direct messages and emails, thanks for those too. The direct messages on YouTube are going away, so you won't be able to contact me through YouTube. I don't know, they're cutting it out here in another month. This video, I titled it Money, but it's not the money that you think I'm going to talk about or really want me to talk about. The most common question by far is pricing jobs. How do you know how much to charge? And I've had lots of guys email me just lists of work that they've been asked to do and want me to tell them how much to charge the customer. It just doesn't work that way, and I'll get more into that in a future video. Last week's video, I told you everything bad about doing manual labor. Kind of was a negative video. Well, this one here is going to continue with things you need to know, but it's going to be focusing on self-employment, not the manual labor. I've talked about these things in previous videos and in the comment section. I'm still averaging about 3,000 new subscribers every month, so there's new people joining the channel that may not have watched a video 20 videos ago when I talked about it. There's a lot of things that people who are self-employed don't get as part of their compensation package that a person in a professional career position gets. It's a lot harder to make the money necessary to match that compensation package that a lot of people get in their professional career. A lot of people who watch the channel have left a good paying job to be a self-employed handyman or a self-employed trim carpenter. A lot of guys are still in a good paying job that pays all their bills and supports their family, but they're not very happy and they're thinking about getting out of it and being self-employed. And they're afraid of a lot of things, and there are very legitimate fears when going full-time self-employed. Some of the things that you get in a career job, I'm not talking about flipping burgers or working under the table laborer positions. I'm talking about someone who is 30 years old and they've been in a career for 7 to 10 years. I'm going to just tell you what my experience was in my last job and what I got outside of the money that was transferred into my account every 2 weeks. I had health insurance benefits. In fact, they paid for all of it. I still had like co-pays, but I didn't have to pay out of pocket for the policy. That's not too common, especially if you have a family, a wife, and 2 kids. That won't be the case, but it was with me as a single guy in my late 20s. Another insurance that you get at a very discounted rate working for a decent company is disability insurance. I know my wife, she's got disability insurance, and it's not like she could get injured on the job, but if she were to become disabled somehow, chopped her hand off, she couldn't do her job. And that disability insurance would pay her, I think it's 75% of her salary forever. That's a long-term disability. Some even have short-term disability. Another major benefit that you don't get being self-employed is the Family Medical Leave Act. Women often use this when they get pregnant, and men can also use this when their wife gives birth or when they have a kid. They can take time off for a medical reason and not lose their job. Go right back to it like it wasn't even, nothing ever happened. 2 more major ones are vacation pay. And sick pay, and holiday pay, and even overtime when you work on a holiday. Those really add up, And by the time you're 10 years in, you would probably have about 3 weeks paid vacation. I know my wife, she's in her 30s, and I think she gets over 4 weeks paid vacation every year, and it rolls over. She's got so much vacation, it's crazy. But she gets paid. She doesn't go to work, but she still gets paid. That's pretty significant. It's pretty nice to have that, and I haven't had it in 10 years. Okay, a few other things that aren't quite as common as the first items. Profit sharing and bonuses. That's where at the end of the year, if everybody did their job right, the company made a profit, and they kick back that profit to their employees in the form of a bonus. You don't get that when you're self-employed. Now there are also some other fees and taxes that a self-employed person needs to know about. The major one is the self-employment tax. It's also called the FICA tax. It's your Social Security, your Medicare, Medicare, one of those things. You know, those taxes that, everybody just calls it their Social Security tax. When you're an employee, you're only paying half of that. Your employer is paying the other half on behalf of you to the federal government. They're also paying local employment taxes. They're not that high. As a self-employed individual, depending on how you have your business set up, you have to pay those taxes also. So right there, you're paying a 15% tax and some other minor local taxes. The local ones aren't really significant. Some of the fees that you have to pay being self-employed, it's not necessary. I didn't do it the first couple years that I was in business. That is an attorney and an accountant. Those two there, they equal, just budget $1,000 a year for that. Another one is liability insurance. Still not real expensive. Maintaining your tools and upgrading your tools. Your truck, your van. Another big one that you don't get paid for, but you do get paid for when you work for someone else, is continuing education. You get paid to increase your skill set. As a self-employed person, you don't. That comes out of your time and your money. I have a certain level of financial security that I like to maintain. And I also have a certain level of quality of life I like to maintain. And that it costs money. And there's a dollar figure attached to that. And that all goes into factoring how much I charge. So I've got this figure. We're going to call it a round number of $100,000 a year. That's going to pay me enough money for my financial security and the standard of living that I would like to maintain. It's also going to pay for, my time off. When I take off and go on vacation, it's got to filter in. I still need to get paid. Still need to have money in the bank. This seems like common sense, but apparently it's not, because I get a lot of comments, a lot of emails, and this is not just localized to the United States. Even I get a lot of communication coming in from England, where apparently a handyman can't make more than $200 a day. And that's like $50,000 a year. And I don't know if they have socialized health care and disabilities and all that stuff over there. So $50,000 a year might work over there. But in the United States, it doesn't work for me. It doesn't pay my bills, keep me at that financial security level. It doesn't keep my quality of life at the level I like to maintain it. Just won't cut it. Not even close. If you were one of those people that asked how and why I charge what I do, this is why. I need to make a certain dollar figure a year. And my pricing, my whole plan of action when I go to someone's house is to make enough money to meet that goal. And I found out ways to do that. And I'm going to share them with you. We're going to get more into that sales thing. And I should probably talk about this real quick while it's on my mind, because this customer just contacted me today to do some work on a rental house that they own. They own 3 houses, and I've worked on all of them. It was the first customer that I tried like a sales technique. Not quite a sales pitch, but it was more than me showing up on time. Oh, on time, you're late, early, whatever. You know the cliche terms. You know, looking clean cut, professional, got something to write on, taking the measurements, you know, great communication. That's standard. You should always just, that should be, you know, your baseline. And I was doing that for years, and I was topping out at about $6,800 a month. And I said, I got to do more. This isn't going to cut it. I either got to go back to, you know, working at a construction site, or I got to change something. And I can't physically do more work. I have to make more money for that same work. And this is the first customer I tried it on. Could not believe it. I made $9,000 in 14 days. Profit. It blew my mind. That summer, I got a little crazy with it, but I've dialed it back a little bit. And I'll tell you why in a future video. You got to be able to sell yourself. Now, I'm not really good at teaching sales. It took me a lot of research to learn the sales and a lot of practice. And it's not magic, but that one project I thought I did discover magic, which is just having a sales technique. I want to keep these videos kind of short and to the point and not get off on tangents and make these things 20-minute long. I think in the future videos we're definitely going to focus on pricing. So if you got questions, please put them in the comment section below. Give this video a like, share it with anybody that's thinking about getting into self-employment. And that's it.